So now we're going to talk about information gathering. Information gathering is one of the most important steps in penetration testing. For example, say if you're trying to gain access to a computer that exists on a certain network. First of all, you want to be able to gather as much information as possible about that network so that you can connect to it, whether it uses encryption, how far the network is, what kind of security is being used on that network, the IP address, the MAC address, all that kind of stuff about the network. Once you can actually connect to the network, you'd want to be able to gather information about the devices that exist on this network. Once you gather information about these devices, you want to see which one of them is your target. Once you locate your target, you want to be able to know what IP address it is, what operating system it runs. Does it run Windows? Does it run Linux? Is it a phone? If it's a Windows, what version of Windows? If you get the version, you want to see, once you know the version, you might be able to look for buffer overflow exploits and then gain full access to that laptop. That's just an example. So information gathering is very important. The more information that you gather, the more likely that you will be able to gain access to your target and achieve your goal. So today, or in this lecture, we're going to talk about network discovery, or what's known as word driving. Now basically word driving is where you have your device and you'd be walking or driving around the area that you think that your target is in or the network is in, and gather information about these networks. So we're going to use an app called Wi-Fi Analyzer, which gives us information about all the Wi-Fi networks that are around us. So it gives us information about the network name, gives us information about the MAC address, the channel, the encryption, the speed, the signal strength, and it even shows us the devices that each network, or the devices that are connected to our current network. We'll talk about that in the next class. So I'm just going to go to my Kali Linux device. It's right here. And you can download this app from the App Store. So as you can see here, I have it right here, Wi-Fi Analyzer. So I'm just going to tap it. And as you can see straight away, it's showing me the networks that are around me. And we can see that there are 4 networks. And TY2 has the strongest signal. That's because this is the one that I'm actually connected to right now. And then you can see the rest is fluctuating because there actually none of them is my network. The other one in blue, it's not very well visible. This is one of my networks as well. That's why it's a bit strong. So this curve basically shows you the signal strength of all the networks around you. So I'm going to tap on the view here on top, and I'm going to go to the time graph. This will basically show you the signal strength across time, and as you can see, it's moving. So you can see which networks are consistent and which networks aren't. On top, you can filter networks by clicking on the network name on top. So for example, if I click on Horizon right there, it's going to highlight it for me. So if you click on UPC 41119, you can see it's highlighted there for me, so you can have a better look at it. So I'm going to look for my network, which is TY2, and I'm highlighting it right there. And you can see it is the one with the strongest signal and the most consistent of all of them. Now, the other view that we have is the channel rating. And it'll basically show you which channels are being used most. Now, this is actually really handy because if you go back, I'm just going to go back to the channel graph right here. You can see that my network is, both of my networks actually, TY2 and the UPC62, are both running on the same channel, but they are not using any of the channels that's used by other networks. By doing this, I can actually avoid overlapping, and I'll have stronger signal in my house for my networks. Now, I have them both running on the same channel because TY2 is just an experimental or a temporary network that I only use when I'm making videos. So usually I don't use both, I'd use one or the other. So that's why I have them on the same channel. But it's a good tip for you if there is a lot of networks running on the same channel around your area, then it's a good idea to change the channel of your network to another channel. So I'm gonna go now to the AP list, and this will basically give you a really comprehensive and good look of all the networks. So it'll show you the MAC address here on top, as you can see. So that's the physical address of each network. This doesn't change and it always stays the same. It also shows you the channel, it shows you the speed, and it shows you the encryption or the security use. So you can see this network, my network, uses WPA, PSK. If you go down, you'll see actually all of them are using WPA at the moment. You can also see your current address because I'm actually connected to this network, so you can see my current IP address here. And the last one, which is one of the really nice features that I like about this app, is the signal meter. Now, this is really handy because it shows you how strong is the signal of the network that you pick. So from here, if you tap on this, you can pick any networks from the networks around. So I'm gonna pick TY2, for example, and we can see that the signal is full, so it's perfect. Now, if you start moving around, the signal is going to change. So it's really good, say, if you're in a place and then you're trying to see what is the spot that has the best coverage or the strongest signal in that place, then you can basically just pick the network that you want and start walking around or moving around until you find the area with the strongest signal. Now this comes in really, really handy when you're trying to break into keys, whether it's WPA or WEP keys. You usually want a spot with a really good signal. Even if you're using your laptop in order to do that, it's really handy to use your phone or your tablet and start moving around to find the place with the strongest signal, and then put your laptop there or put your Wi-Fi card there and start trying breaking into that network. We will talk about break-in keys, whether it's WEP or WPA or WPA2 in stronger or in the future lectures. But I just would like to point that this will come in really, really handy when you're trying to do this. And you'll see it in the future when you actually try to do some tests. It's really difficult to get, or it's really important to get a place with a good signal. And this will help you to do that. And it's going to be really, really useful. Welcome to the first section of our course. In this section, we're going to be talking about weaponizing your Android device. So we're going to talk about what the programs that you're going to need to install on your Android device so that you can use it as a penetration testing tool. The main program or the main software that we need to install is called NetHunter. NetHunter is an Android operating system or a flavor of Android that come in with a number of programs pre-installed that are used for penetration testing. NetHunter is free, so you can download it for free and install it, and it's supported on all Nexus devices, so that's Nexus 4, 5, 6, and 7 at the moment, and the One Plus. There are other versions for other Android devices, but they are not officially supported. So the only devices that are supported officially are the Nexus and the One Plus. Installing NetHunter is very simple. We have to do a few things first before we can install it. First, we're going to have to install the drivers on our computer so that the computer can recognize our Android device. Then we're going to unlock the device and we're going to root it. Root is basically an account that has the highest privileges in Linux systems. So Android is actually built on Linux, and because of that, we need to install a root account on it. The root account, because it has the highest privileges, it allows us to do or to gain full control over the device. So we'll have full control over the hardware, and we will be able to run specific tasks that we cannot run without the root account. Then we're gonna install NetHunter, which is the modified Android ROM that contains all the programs that we need for penetration testing. This whole process is very simple. It's not as complicated as it seems, and we're gonna see how we can do it in the next lectures. Now we're gonna talk about something called network mapping. So let's say you're connected to a network, or you connected to your target network, and now you want to discover all the connected devices to this network. So there might be 5, 6, or 10 devices connected to this network, and you want to gather information about these devices. You want to know their IP address, their MAC address, their operating system, and maybe even the programs that are running on these devices. All this information will make achieving your target easier. So if you know what operating system runs, you can look for exploits for that operating system. If you can see, for example, port 21 open, maybe you'll try to connect to it through FTP and see if there is an anonymous account. If not, try to see what FTP server is running and look for buffer overflow exploits and maybe try to exploit them. Maybe even if you find local exploits, you can send something to the target person and wait to gain access to their device. We're going to talk about all that later, but for now, we're just going to see how we can gather information about these devices, see what services they're running, and maybe try to gain access to these devices. So I'm going to show you a few ways or a few apps that you can use to do that. We're going to start by the simplest and the ones that give you less information, but they're quick. And then we're going to go to the more complicated, more advanced apps. So for a start, just to get an idea of what network mapping is, I'm going to use the same app that we used before, Wi-Fi Analyzer. So I'm just going to tap on it. And right now I'm actually connected to my network. So if we go to the AP list, you can see that I'm connected to TY2. So I'm going to go here on this 3 dots right there. And I'm going to go on Tools. And I'm going to tap on LAN Neighbors. So this will basically look through all the connected devices and it will show me information about these devices. Now, first of all, you can actually see some info about the current network. So you can see the IP of the gateway. The IP of the gateway basically means the IP of the router or the server of this network. So this is where whenever any device wants to access something within the network, it's going to send its request here. So if it wants to access any website or anything, it's going to send its request to this IP. You can also see the net mask and the network size. So this is all the possible IPs that you can find within the network. And that's basically the range, that what specifies the range, which is from 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.254. If you look up the first one, now we know the gateway is 192.168.1.1. So if we look at the first device, we can see that this has the same IP, so that must be our router or our server for the network. And you can see that it's HTC, so it's made by HTC. It was able to detect that. And then when we look on the other device right here, we can see that we have one device connected to the network, and that's 192.168.1.45. And the username is S00S, and that's actually my Linux machine right here. So I'll just show you that. If I open my terminal, you can see that the name of my machine is S00S. So it was able to find the name of this machine because it's connected to the same network, so I was able to get that. It also got me my MAC address right here, so I'm gonna show you that this is correct. So if I go iwconfig and this is my wireless card, ifconfig eth1, as you can see, the MAC address is actually the same, so it was able to get the MAC address of this device as well. It was also able to get the manufacturer of my wireless card, which is this right here. Now I'm going to go back, and if you go on the OUI lookup from the tools, it will basically just tell you the manufacturer of any device using the MAC address. Now the device has to be connected to your network, so I'm just going to do the same. It already got this for me, so I'm just going to do it just to show you. So I'm just going to put the MAC address of my laptop, which is C01885, and as you can see, it actually got it already right here. So that's it for now. Very simple tool. It allows you to discover all the connected device in your network. Now in the future videos we're going to be using more advanced tools, and we'll see that they'll actually show us much more information than this tool.